love the Navy so much. My wife would say maybe too much.
When you look at the effort that you're putting in, probably what will be tens of billions of dollars over how many years, how do you measure the success?
I want our sailors to have mastery over what they're doing. I think people are most professionally happy, Greg, when they come to work and they feel like they're competent.
How do you balance your initiatives and all the travel you do with real life conflicts like Epic Fury and dealing with that? How do you manage the balance?
I try to not be away too long. And so I do think commanders have to command from their headquarters and can't spend all their time on the road, but it is extremely important for me to get out and about and see the real picture, eyes on target, as we like to say.
You come across, to me anyway, as somebody who wants to just be a regular guy, or coming across I'm just one of you. How difficult is that to do with 4 stars on?
My own brain doesn't want to acknowledge what you said. I think I'm like completely in touch with them, but I'm not. And I'm trying to think of myself at that stage, looking at some, very, very high-ranking senior official, and you want to believe that what you're doing is said the right way, in a way they can understand it. I need people to keep me grounded in that and tell me when I'm off base.
Now, as you've traveled the country, what have you seen, and how did it compare to what you thought the problem was?
I'm usually pleasantly surprised at how far we've come in the Navy on fixing so many things so quickly that we've been living with. And we got a long way to go, so I'm not trying to claim victory here. We're making a real difference in most places.
You have served 7 presidents now, different political climates throughout those 4 decades. What's been the biggest challenge for you, or do you just tune out the politics?
Well, the military is an apolitical organization, and we serve at the pleasure of the Commander-in-Chief. And when you're at the beginning of your career, to insulate yourself from that is like pretty easy to do. As you move up, maybe, and you kind of get into command of a unit, you start getting involved a little bit more in understanding the more operational and strategic nature of what's going on politically. And certainly as a service chief, as part of the Joint Chiefs, I have to be mindful of the politics that go on, because that is the geopolitical environment that I'm in. And so it's not that I get involved politically, but I have to understand that environment.
Last time you were up, we talked about the importance of the Arctic. That was 3 years ago. Is it still as important now as it was then to you?
It's grown in importance. We finally have committed to, helping the Coast Guard, rebuild their ice-breaking fleet. Our ability to continue having a presence there, particularly with Russia and what China wants to do in the Arctic, and make sure we don't cede that space to them, is going to be extremely important.
If you're trying to explain to somebody who really has no concept, how do you boil down that topic so they can understand why it's so important?
The Arctic, to your question, I look at it more as almost a use case of what we're seeing kind of globally. You're seeing Iran trying to control the Strait of Hormuz. This idea that the global commons that is their international trade routes in these bodies of water can't be controlled by a country. They have to be free and open.
What role does the fleet here in the Pacific Northwest play in helping you do that?
Oh, it's indispensable. I mean, I just think of when I'm up here in this part of the world, just what's coming out of Washington State alone. The undersea surveillance that comes out of Whidbey. As I move over to Everett with our destroyer fleet, what goes on here in Bremerton and Bangor with the shipyard. I mean, this is an epicenter of everything we do in the Navy. It's just a perfect little place for me to visit.
When you look back at your 23-year-old self getting that commission, did you ever think you'd be in this position?
No, I didn't. I thought I would do my 3 years that I was required to do, and I'd be out. I had some great leaders at the time that convinced me I should think about making this a career. So I thought, I've made it, to command of a nuclear-powered submarine. What an incredible thing to do. And anything after that, quite frankly, Greg, has been gravy.
He spent some of those years up here at Bangor as well. If you'd like to see more about the Admiral's visit to Washington, you can find Wednesday's story that I did right now on the King 5 app. The app is free to download for your phone and your TV.